Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Siempre. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hasta dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, rise up, people.
Rise
you are
up, rise
tuning
up.
into the Rise Up International Morning Show. Fernando, what up?
What's going on, Kiana? How you doing?
Man, there is so much going on, but I'm doing well. I got a lot of energy this morning, a whole lot of energy.
That's
because I'm feeling some type of way. It's a lot going on. It's like I want to have my boxing gloves on right now. Like just start to.
You're going to work.
LL Cool J, Mama said knock you out.
That's right. That's right.
But I'm wondering, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had a theme song that played like every time you walked into a place, what would your theme song be?
Dang.
You know, boxers walk out to their theme.
Yeah.
What's your hype song?
That Dead Prez, I'm an African.
You know, I think I'm a bit more ratchet because literally for me, it's Nuck If You Buck.
Ooh, okay. Nuck if you buck, boy. Nuck if you buck. I hear you.
Nuck if you buck, right? Because look, James Brown said it. Don't start none, won't be none.
Right.
If you do start some, punks jump up to get beat down. I'm just saying.
No doubt. That's
and
right.
Shout out to the rest of the Rise Up crew. Shout out to Dr. Kimba. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Rakeem. Shout out to Natasha X.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Kalanji, the one who brings us all together to make us a powerful force. Shout out Rise Up International Morning Show and to all of Black Power Media Reloaded. I know that there is a lot of misnomers out there. We got this Black Liberation Media, I believe, and there's a lot of questioning about Black Power Media and what it is. And we can just let it be known here that Black Power Media Reloaded is the Black Power Media, where the power is truly with the people. It is not in the hands of eccentric millionaires and billionaires. It is not in the hands of those who would conform to a capitalist society and want to exploit Black people through the 501c3 industrial complex. Damn. This is Black Power Media, and it is reloaded because sometimes you just got to be sucker free and let them go on about their business so that you can do the real work of the people. So we are definitely glad to be here this morning. Peace to all the uprisers who are with us. Drop something in the chat. Let us know that you're here. Tell us where you're checking in from because we appreciate you. We know that it is not easy for you to be over here watching us at 7 a.m. on the East
That's
Coast and, you know, other times in other places. But y'all consistently tune in, and we definitely appreciate the uprisers, because we would not have the Rise Up International Morning Show if it wasn't for y'all. So much appreciation to all of the uprisers.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to everybody out there checking us out. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell. You know what I mean? It always helps us out. We appreciate that. Yeah, like you said, there's a lot going on, you know, over here in France. There's been, you know, we've been mobilizing out here, and you know, for a few causes. There's a lot going on, like you said, but definitely when it comes to the Congo, over here, you know, where I live in Rennes, you know, unfortunately, um, we're not seeing as many people as, you know, we should be seeing out here. But, you know, part of it is, unfortunately, you know, our people are still split. You know, we still sometimes don't understand that everything is connected, you know. So we'll have a lot of brothers and sisters from the Congo for the Congo, but then, you know, when it's for when we're marching for Sudan, then it'll
That's
be,
right.
you know
They
what
are
I'm
not
saying? And we
marching for
don't all come
Sudan.
together. We don't always all come together, because, you know, we don't necessarily understand. That's why I always speak about, you know, how important it is for the youth to understand, you know, our identity, you know, to understand who we are,
Yes,
because that way, you know, when we grow up, we see things different. We start on, it's easier that to understand, you know, certain politics, you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's one thing that kind of always bothers me when I see that. But at the same time, shout out to everybody that is moving, that is doing the work. And yeah, that's part of it, you know.
Definitely. One thing I always think about is that I don't know if it's a poem or if it's just like a saying that you'll often hear when it comes down to people being targeted and people standing up. It's like, okay, so they came for this group, you didn't
Mm,
do anything. They came for that group, you didn't do anything. You know, they came for another group. You're sitting around and you're looking and you're twiddling your thumb and you're saying, oh, that's too bad, but you're not
yeah.
doing anything. So then when they come for you, who is there to stand up for you?
And then you're still looking around like, who's gonna help me out now?
Exactly. I
You know what
mean,
I'm saying?
we think about this a lot in the context of being Black women, right? Because Black
Mm.
women carry not only physical, but emotional labor for a lot of the work of movement. And when it
Right.
comes down to it, we stand up for everybody
Mm.
all the time. But who is really, really standing up for us? And we
That's
have
right.
so many different factions that are trying to make division, you know,
Yeah,
particularly between Black men and Black women, because there's a whole movement that's dedicated
absolutely.
to deluding Black men into thinking that a confident Black woman who amplifies and uplifts other Black women, who encourages Black women and has a focus particularly on the development of Black women, is antithetical to the Black family. There's an entire
Say,
movement that is dedicated to making Black men think that their authority is
mm,
being usurped by Black women,
I
making
know.
Black men think that nurturing, that loving, that uplifting Black women makes them less of a person, that it takes
Yeah,
away their own manhood, that it means that, oh my goodness, you're not on code because,
yeah,
oh, that Black girl magic stuff, that's just a ploy. And it's like, you know what? We can see things in different ways, because there are times when the colonizers will use phrases like Black girl magic to delude people into thinking
yeah.
that, you know, being a Black woman means that they don't have to worry about caring about other people, that all we have to worry about is ourselves. But when you look at the most marginalized person on earth,
Of course,
if you take care of the most marginalized, then you have taken care of everyone else, because in doing so, you have made considerations for the plight
of
of all
course.
of the others. It's like we say in education, if we fix special education, then we have fixed the educational system, because we have considered all of the other things that go into so-called regular education, and also the very special needs of our children who are different types of learners.
That's right.
When we think about what solidarity means, people so many times get it confused and believe that solidarity means that we have to agree on everything, that we have to share a political ideology, and that we have to be on just the same page, the same line of the same page all the time. That is not what solidarity is. Solidarity, within solidarity, you're going to disagree. You're going to struggle. You are not going to see eye to eye many times. But what that means is that we simply commit to struggle together. Sure. Solidarity means that if you down, I'm down. Solidarity means that if you fighting, I'm fighting. Like, sure. I may disagree with your tactic right now, but I'm just going to get down with it because we fighting. We in this fight. Yeah. Once we get to somewhere, we can figure out some things and maybe change course if we need to. But solidarity just simply means we in the fight together.
100%. You know, I'm glad you brought all that up, because this is a very serious thing, a serious problem that we're having right now. You know what I mean? Because scapegoating, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, a lot of, you know, black men out here thinking that the problem is black women. You know, it's not, you know, it's not white hegemony. It's black women, or, you know, sometimes it may turn to whatever, immigrants, you know, or gay people, you know what I'm saying? But not the true enemy. You know what I'm saying? Correct. And so what happens is that we become reactionary. You know, we become, instead of revolutionary, we become reactionary. So we start punching down, you know what I'm saying? Or even laterally, but not up. We have to punch up. That's where it's at. That's the enemy, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's unfortunate, but it's real. Like you said, it's something that's out there. And so we have to, again, truly educate ourselves, understand what's going on, because that's an okie doke. You know, they do it on purpose.
Absolutely. I think people don't realize that you do not have to be white to uphold the tenets of white supremacy. You do not have to be the white racist to operate under that system of racism, because it's ingrained in us. We've been indoctrinated from the time that we have taken our first breath in this world, in the state of imperialism and colonialism in which we live. The way that we are raised to live is within a system of white supremacy. So if you are holding up the things that you've been taught about, respecting certain people just because of a position, or having to behave a certain way to be accepted, then you are subscribing to white supremacy, because this is what the dominant system of the day is. It's systemic and it's systematic. So it's meant to repeat itself. It's meant to be duplicated. It's meant to be pervasive, so that if everyone is being raised this way, if everyone is indoctrinated this way, if everyone believes that even sitting in a school, in a classroom, in a schoolhouse, that you should always raise your hand to go to the bathroom. I think that when we think about it, something as simple as this, or this, what we call the church finger. You see it a lot in a Baptist church. Somebody put up that church finger and they got to walk out, you know, and they're doing this while somebody is up at the podium or up in the pulpit speaking. And we're raised to believe that this is a sign of respect. But this is actually what slaves had to do while they were standing in their church services, to let the whipping boys and the overseers know that they were going to step out, because they still had to be counted. And when we think about the fact that we live in a society that teaches our children to do this, what is this? I'm being counted and accounted for in a certain way. But I shouldn't have to do this if I need to go and take care of a bodily function that I cannot control. I should not need your permission to step out to do that. I remember telling my children when they went to school that if you have to use the bathroom, you go use the bathroom. And if somebody says something to you when you come back, you tell them they better call me immediately. Because I wish somebody would tell you that you need their permission to take care of something that occurs naturally in your body. You can let them know that you're going to the bathroom, but you're not asking permission, because this is what we're not doing. And when we look at the ways even that school operates, the bell rings, class start. Bell rings, time for lunch. Bell rings, it's time for recess. Bell rings, go back to class. Bell rings, another class. Bell rings, it's time to go home. Where else do you operate on a system like that? Jail or factory?
Yep. Plantation work.
Literally what our children
Yeah.
and what we have all been raised to believe is an acceptable way for us to move about throughout the day. This is an acceptable way for us to carve up time. And we believe that this is a good use of time, but it's ingrained in us so deeply that we don't think twice about it by the time we're in high school, because this is the way things have been. We're not thinking twice about it by the time we do end up working somewhere that operates on the same system. But even in places that don't have a literal bell, you got to punch that time clock. You got to punch that time clock when you come in. If you're a union worker, you probably get 2 15-minute breaks, one before your lunchtime, one after your lunchtime. Everything is already set on that schedule. We have been programmed to move that way. And this is white supremacy, because it was said that we don't need to raise a nation of thinkers. We need to raise a nation of workers.
Yep.
White supremacy. This is what Rockefeller wanted.
And this is where we're at now. And if we even if we hadn't had so many radical movements doing so much work, it'd be even worse right now. We'd still be working like 12 to 14 hours in one day.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like people think like, oh yeah, these, they're giving us a break. Nah, this people had to work hard for this. We'd still be working, 15, 16 hours if it was up to them.
That's right. What did Malcolm X say? From can't see in the morning to can't see at night.
From can to can't. From can to can't. Yep. That's right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No doubt. All right. Well, shoot. I think we definitely got a few stories we want to get to, but I think we might want to hit a Black Power, a break for Black Power real quick.
Absolutely. Let's get that Black Power up going.
Let's get it going. Rise up.
At the time of Jesus' birth, and we've talked about that in this meeting before, and I want to say some more about it. At the time of Jesus' birth, the Jews, like most people in the world that was known at that time, were dominated by the Romans. They were living under colonial domination, colonial bondage, just like African people here, and just like we have in various places around the world been living. The Jews lived under Roman domination. The Romans had what they call an empire. An empire is where a government of a people not only dominate and rule their own people, but many other peoples around the world. The Roman Empire was comparable to what America is today. America is an empire. It feels like it can tell people what to do, and if you don't do it, we'll attack you. You can't have this kind of weapon or that kind of weapon. We'll blow you up. We'll take your oil. We'll do all these other kinds of things to you. That's how Rome was during the day. And except it was a more honest, they call it an empire today, even though if you read certain kinds of documents and certain kinds of papers being written by the thinking representatives of the white power today, more and more they are referring to America as an empire. Except they don't call Bush an emperor, they call him the president. Well, back then they were more honest, they called him the emperor. Rome had an emperor. An emperor, an empire, you can see the connection between the names. An emperor is someone who rules over an empire. Now, the thing is that the people who are citizens of the empire, they live well because they live off the fruits of what the emperor brings from all over the world, all the oppressed peoples of the world. You find all their resources coming to the empire, coming to Rome. And they were coming from every place. The Jews, and I'm speaking of Jews, but Jews are just Semites who lived in what they now call the Middle East. Arabs are Semites, and there were all other kinds of people, Syrians and what have you, who are also Arabs, etc., who lived in the same area. and all of them had to pay tribute to Rome. So the Romans lived pretty well. The Rome, of course, is in Europe, as you know, right? Rome is in Europe. What they call Italy now is the headquarters of what Rome was, white people. And although it may or may not have been an issue at the time, the Jews were not white people. Jews got white lately, relatively lately. And the Jews were dominated by the Romans. And the Jews didn't want to be dominated by the Romans, because any thinking human being wants to be self-determining. They don't want somebody else over them. They don't want somebody else dominating them, do they? They want to be a you can't have a national dignity if every time you look up there's somebody who's telling you how you have to do things and when you have to do it. And in fact, said terms where he said you can't even act like a black person. Oh, you can't. Not in America if you're going to succeed. And everybody in here know that's the truth. You can't. If you be too black, you will not succeed. You can't go on the job being black, right? You can't go nowhere being too black. You remember when they used to not hire you if you had dreadlocks, if you had cornrows, if you had afros, or any of those stuff. You can't be too black. Only when white people started getting dreadlocks was it cool. Yeah. So, and when they found out that dreadlocks didn't mean nothing for a lot of these old sellouts, and sometimes he had a dreadlock and a processed brain. You had dreadlock hair and a perm on your brain. You understand? So they discovered that, and they said, let the Negroes have dreadlocks. But that's how empire runs it. And when you have an empire, people are asking the question like about what happened to Mtundu. And Mtundu spoke out, and the police attacked him. And white people say, oh, the police don't act that way. And it's true, the police do not act that way. If you're citizens of the empire. If you were Roman citizens, the Roman police didn't treat the white people in Rome the way they was treating the Jews who were living in Israel. Treat you differently. Because one was a citizen and then one was a subject. There's a difference in being a citizen and a subject, right? So when Jesus was born, Rome was living, the Jews were living under Roman domination, and they had the same kinds of problem that you got today. Among the problems that you have when somebody else runs your affairs, you can't get along with each other. You notice that? And you say it all the time. Niggas just can't get together. You say it all the time. And one of the reasons it's hard for you to get along with each other is because you displace your anger. You mad with the ruling class. You stay mad with white people, but you done found out you disguise it even to yourself. Now you get insulted all the time. Almost every day you get insulted. And the reason you don't go behind the counter and snatch them up and do something damaging to them because they're going to say, call security.
Always powerful words from Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Always, man. He had me rolling, you know, with that.
For the empire for years, decades.
Man, shout out to him and everybody in the Uhuru movement.
Absolutely. The All-African People's Socialist Party. Love it.
I love how he said, you know, some people out here with dreadlocks and a processed brain.
Yes, I literally wrote that down too.
That's that's crazy because, you know,
perm on your brain.
It's real though. Like, see, you know, I'm the youngest of, you know, 5 brothers, and like my father, you know, when he when my brothers first got dreads, when they came home with dreads, they were young, and my father sat him down and he was like, listen, you know what this means? You know what I'm saying? This means something. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what this means? And, you know, they had to talk it out. And my father, all right, then. But don't just wear this just because, you know, this is serious. It means something as a black man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. This is not fashion.
Right. And so today, man, so many people just rocking dreads out here. They don't even want to call them dreads. They say they locks. It's locks. It's not dreadlocks.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Well, you know, there's this whole movement of positive affirmation. So we can't say that these are dreadlocks. These are just locks.
Right.
This is because they do not know.
Exactly.
They do not know what this is about. And you cannot come over here and change the name of something that has meaning.
That's right.
Just because you don't like the word dread, find you another word.
And it's supposed to, the problem that what they don't understand is that was supposed to dread the enemy. You know,
that's
it's supposed
right.
to let the enemy know what time it is, what we're about. You know what I'm saying? But they out here thinking, oh no, dreads aren't supposed to be. I mean, locks aren't supposed to be dreadful. You know, so, but yeah,
misinterpretation. I tell you.
100%.
Speaking of misinterpretation,
right?
Let's get into a story, y'all, because there is some gross misinterpretation that's been going on with our old buddy, our pal, Agent Orange, aka former and current President Donald J. Trump.
Oh, man.
President Trump has decided that he will absolutely fulfill his promise, not only to build a border wall, but to get all of these people out of here, all of these illegals. We're going to get them out of here. They got to go. So much so that President Trump has his ICE agents targeting Native American tribes. And all I have to say is that just speaks more to the fact that we all look alike to them.
Absolutely.
We all look alike to them. Are you Navajo? Are you Mexican? It doesn't matter. Are you Lakota? Are you Costa Rican? It doesn't matter. Are you Cherokee? Are you Colombian? It doesn't matter, because y'all all look alike. So I believe that any of you could be illegal, and I should have the right to deport you at any time. But it has been reported by many members of First Nations that they have been harassed by immigrations and customs enforcement agents amid President Trump's newest, and I won't even say newest, but amid one of President Trump's fiascos. As reported by Axios, some Native American tribes say that tribal members are being harassed by federal immigration agents, while others fear that they could be wrongly caught up in immigration raids. Now, this matters because among some indigenous tribes, there's the reflection of confusion and fear, even among those other people who are legal citizens of the U.S. because of these immigration raids. So because of this, there are several nations that have issued warnings and advice to their members based on what they say have been encounters where U.S. immigration agents have demanded proof of citizenship. I'm not sure where everybody is checking in from, but if you are anywhere in the United States, I'm sure that you have come across some measure of advice encouraging you to look out for and report people who you suspect may be illegal. And this is one thing that the Trump administration is depending on to exact more terror and fear in not only Native communities, but any marginalized and minority community. And when I say minority, I mean the global majority, but minority to these people in the United States. So immigration raids in cities such as Chicago and Los Angeles have shown us craziness like Dr. Phil, who wanted to help you fix all your problems and, lie on my couch, let me talk to you, let me help you get yourself right. Dr. Phil got himself entangled in some of these ICE raids in Chicago. And people were speculating as to whether the videos that they were seeing online were authentic or not, because people were like, oh no, that can't be Dr. Phil. Oh no, it was Dr. Phil. And one person recognized him, identified him. And Dr. Phil was doing some real dastardly stuff in questioning this particular person who he believed should have been deported. The Navajo Nation, which is among one of the largest tribes here, said that federal immigration agents have been questioning their members. My office has received multiple reports from Navajo citizens that they have had negative and sometimes traumatizing experiences with federal agents targeting undocumented immigrants. is quoted by Navajo President Grin in a statement as told to Axios. Also, Navajo officials have told CNN that at least 15 indigenous people in the southwestern U.S. have reported being questioned or detained in the week that this story first dropped. And I will say also that since this story dropped, because this story dropped at the very end of January, we are now going into the middle of February. This is continuing. And we're reporting this because we know people who have personally been targeted. I know of a comrade who has been a citizen for quite some time. Both he and his wife are U.S. citizens. And in 2020, he was targeted by ICE and detained right here in the state of Georgia at Stewart Detention Center, and led a hunger strike actually within that detention center so that people will understand the plight of people who are detained by ICE, and also to amplify many of the injustices in treatment within ICE detention facilities. It is no secret that when you are picked up by ICE, they basically tell you that you now have no rights. We can do whatever we want to do. To this end, many women have been sterilized, but many others have suffered sexual violence and assaults by ICE detention officers. Some women have been impregnated while in ICE custody. Some women have had their children taken away after birth while in ICE detention. And the federal government is not running any of these facilities. CoreLogic runs the majority of ICE detention facilities. This is a private corporation, and this all goes back to capitalism, goes back to the expansion and extension of the prison industrial complex and making money off of our bodies, making money off of the fact that you can incarcerate a bunch of people in a cage, but you don't want to provide resources for communities. You don't want to provide a clear path to citizenship. If you truly did, there wouldn't be as many issues within the immigration system. It has never been the plan of those who are in power in Washington to make sure that this is a seamless process, because this process is seamless for some people, but it is a journey to hell and back for others. Even in the midst of targeting First Nations, there have been raids in certain places where Black people who are U.S. citizens have been picked up, because Agent Orange has also talked about targeting African people. Agent Orange does not want African people here unless you are a white South African. If you are a white South African, then these borders are open to you.
That's right.
But if you happen to be coming from anywhere else in Africa, then you need to just keep a stepping, because this is not the place for you.
Absolutely.
But what has to be highlighted and impressed upon people is that this whole issue of illegal immigrants, it's so sophomoric and just doesn't make sense to me, because if anyone is an illegal immigrant, it's the white people who are here.
Of course. Of course.
You are the illegal immigrants. You cannot tell a Mexican person in Texas that he or she is an illegal immigrant when that is literally their land.
That's right.
Texas, Arizona, California.
But
like, what are you talking about?
They have nothing. Like, no, they don't care. They'll do it like right to our face, just like that. And they know it. You know, they do. They know that if there's anybody that's illegal, it's them. That shouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
You know, they know. But that's the game that they play, you know. And you know, going back to what you said about them, you know, just not caring, just going after everybody, basically. That's what we were talking about earlier. You know, there's been so many, like, all these groups of people, like, you know, Latinos for Trump and all of that. Ooh. That all these people a lot of these people are now getting picked up. Like, come on, get out of here yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, when we speak, that's what you spoke about earlier when you were saying, you know, you can get these other people. It's not me. You're not getting me. You're not getting my group, right? It's cool.
Oh, yes.
So I'm not gonna say nothing. And then, you know, but at some point, it's coming to you. Don't you think that,
yes,
you know, don't you think that they just gonna go after
they are coming
the
for
Mexicans, or
all.
just going after the
Yes.
Haitians, or just,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? This is white hegemony. They don't play. They're going all the way, you know, it
And
never
that's the name of
stops.
the game.
Yeah,
The name of the game is divide and conquer. It is
absolutely.
the same thing they did on a slave plantation,
Yeah.
where they decided to divide us based on our skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
Colorism plays such a
Mm-hmm.
part, and it is still so pervasive within Black and Native communities to this day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have indigenous friends who will tell me about issues within their own tribes because someone is darker.
Mm.
I've seen for myself members of a certain Native nation who are very light, who look down on others, and I've seen their
Mm.
discrimination.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, we see it here within the Black community. We know that on the plantation, the light skins were in the house and the darker ones were out in the field.
That's
And
right.
we've seen it. It always takes me back to Spike Lee's movie where it was set on a college campus. And there were these sororities and fraternities. And the one sorority was light skinned women with relaxed hair, and the other darker skinned women with natural hair were not a member of any sorority, but the way that there was that tension and the strife between them. And the same thing with the brothers who pledged the fraternity as opposed to the ones who would not. You know, I it took me years and years and years to ever watch School Days, but when
Okay.
I finally did, I was elevated to a level of consciousness where I could understand what the
Yeah.
message was immediately. And I thought about that even within my own life. I remember, being younger and people wanting to have very light skin. And
Of
then
course.
fast
Yeah.
forward into adulthood, living in a place where there were people in my community who were intently bleaching their skin to
Yeah.
have lighter skin.
Yeah.
And I remember when I decided that I was no longer going to relax my hair because I didn't feel like that was something that I needed to do.
Mm.
I didn't have a reason for relaxing my hair except that at some point when I was a young girl, my
Mm.
mother decided to relax my hair because my hair is very thick,
Mm.
it is curly, and it would grow very, very long.
Mm.
I continued that because I would hear things like, oh, once you have a relaxer in your hair, you have to always get your hair relaxed because if you don't, your hair is going to break off. It's going to do this, it's going to do that. So I kept doing that as an adult.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
one day I came to myself and I was like, well, what if I just stop?
Mm.
What if I just don't put these chemicals in my hair anymore?
Right.
What if I just don't?
Mm-mm-mm.
Is my hair really not going to be able to be straightened? Okay, if it's not, then what do I do with my natural curls? Like, I will figure it out. But
Absolutely.
I just stopped with the chemicals.
Yeah.
And that was in 2007.
Mm-mm.
I have not had chemicals in my hair since 2007. And I do not regret a single
Of course.
day of it.
Of course, man.
Of
You know this.
course, we are made to believe that we can't live without certain things that get us closer in proximity to white because white is
Yeah.
right. And the closer we are to white, then the closer we are to perfection, the
That's
closer we
right.
are to right, the closer we are to being accepted in this Black skin.
Mm.
It's the reason why sometimes when we talk about code switching, sometimes I purposely am not using proper grammar around white people because I don't want to. I ain't got to.
That's
It
right.
doesn't take away what I know. It doesn't diminish my capacity for learning, and it
That's,
doesn't make you any better than me.
that's right. That's right. Nah, you spitting. You going. Now listen, that's the way that colorism still exists. It shows how much of slave mentality we still have. How
Yes,
much of slave
yes.
mentality a lot of our people still have, unfortunately. And the whole the whole FBA movement and all that makes me think of that a lot, because it's like, I'm closer to Massa, I got the papers. It's like, I'm inside the house. I have an American passport. So therefore, y'all are different than me. Y'all from Africa or y'all from whatever the Caribbean. That's not me. I'm inside the house.
We ain't all from Africa.
Right. Exactly. All of that. You know what I'm saying? And so
now I want to be African. I want to be African because I love Africa and I love African principles. And it has taken me most of my life to get to this point, because for so long, I, like so many other people, was caught up in being the magical Negro. Let me show these white people what I know, and then they can't reject me. Where else are you going to find somebody that speaks German and a little bit of Dutch and a little bit of Russian, and I can sing and I can dance and I can do this and I can do that, and I am the one? You got to accept me because I'm not like those other Black people. For so long, I did that. I can remember like the time that it kind of really shook me.
Right.
And I was like, why am I doing this? I was at a Rotary convention, and it was in this Rotary district. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I was the president of my Rotary club, first Black woman president ever of this particular Rotary club, one of very few within that Rotary district. And we were at some event during the conference, and I remember that the icebreaker was like, tell your name, what club you're with, where you're from, and an interesting fact about you. And for me, I'm always like, it seems that the most interesting fact about me is that I'm a German translator. People, for some reason, they don't expect that from me. So, I go and throw out my interesting fact because it's like the most interesting ever, I'm sure. And this white man looks at me and is like, German? How do you know German? And I'm thinking about the question, like, how do I know German? It's like, B, I studied it. Like, how do you know anything? You studied, you learned. And it's like, yeah, but why? And then I'm like, well, why not? Because I did not have a choice. German was a part of my curriculum in the elementary school that I went to. And then it's like, oh my goodness, what school is that? Kittredge Magnet School for High Achievers in Atlanta, Georgia. What else you want to know, mister? And that was when I just began to say to myself, why am I doing this? Why do I care what these people think about me? Right. Why am I so intent on trying to be different than the rest of my people? Why? What makes me think I'm so much better? What makes me think that being able to speak German is different than anybody else? You know how many people in Africa speak 5, 6, 7, 8 languages?
That's right.
I ain't got nothing on them. Yeah. But here I am.
And they don't want to call them languages. They want to call them dialects.
And they are not. They are languages.
Right. 100%.
They are languages. There is an entire organization that is dedicated to preserving language. Like, I don't think people understand what language really means. And this is where I can really go down the rabbit hole because I'm a linguist, and how language goes into our identity and how we live. And the fact that so many of us as African people in these yet to be United States don't have a certain level of unity because we cannot unite around our native languages, because we don't have a language that connects us back to the motherland unless we commit to studying and learning. We have to make that commitment. When we see other peoples who come to this country, they have a language. They have something that binds them together, if nothing else.
That's right.
We don't have that because it was done intentionally. It makes me think about the story in the Bible of the Tower of Babel, where God looked around and God saw that there was nothing that man could not do if they worked together. God literally said, let us go down and confound their language, because the Tower of Babel was being built all the way up to heaven. Man could become and sit in the same place as God because of unity, because of working together. And it was through language that they were able to do that. If God saw that language was unity, and if God saw that unity meant unfettered power, what do you think the colonizer sees in us? Why do you think it was important that they could not enslave us on our own lands in Africa? They had to take us somewhere else away from our people. Because if we were together, them suckers wouldn't have stood a chance in hell. They wouldn't have been able to get us out. But they took us away from our land, and they confounded our language. And so we have the same effect as that story in the Bible, where we have been divided and separated, and we don't speak the same language, because some of us speak fluent colonizer. Others of us speak fluent revolution. And never the twain can meet.
That's right.
Because you, the wannabe oppressor, are not gonna oppress me, because I'll be damned. It's too much in me. I can't go down like that. Like, I can't go out like no sucker, right? I cannot let you do this to me, because I know what's in me. I know who I am now. I'm learning so much more about where I come from. And I'm learning so much more about the power that is Africa, especially the people of Africa. I'm so envious of my husband, because my husband has a discipline that I don't have. My husband commits to reading in a way that I probably never will again, because I just be doing too much, right? When I was younger, I did a lot more, and I do read. However, there are things that are required for me to read, because there are things that I have to do. But my husband, in addition to what he's required to do for his profession, my husband has been taking the time to get a different book about a different African country every time we go to the library. And my husband has been reading about Cameroon. The other day when we did our show and we were talking about Chad, my husband's like, oh, I got to get this book on Chad. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should too. Like, I should be over here learning like you. But my husband is disciplined to the point that he wants to know.
Yeah. No doubt. I hear that.
Where we come from, about the places that we talk about, and the places that have been so horribly exploited by white people, all because they are afraid that our unity will make it so that they can't continue to exploit us. And they know that it's true, because if we were together, if we did not have Rwanda and Uganda taking up arms in the Democratic Republic of Congo, then I wonder what this situation would look like. If we did not have militants funded by Israel in Sudan wreaking havoc on the communities there, I wonder what it could look like if Chad had not given up French control of a military base to Turkey. What would it look like?
That's right. Now you're right. I hear you. What you said is real. You know, it was like, it all goes back to when Malcolm said, you know, who taught you to hate yourself? You know,
that's right.
And you know, the way our people, the way we've been dehumanized, you know, ever since they took our first ancestor away from the motherland, they started working in all these lies and dehumanization of our people and splitting us up. And you know, it's been real, but it shows our resistance too. You know, the fact that we still standing, you know, still resistant, you know, after all these genocides and menticides and
absolutely
and ecocides and all that's going on around the world, that they're still doing to this day, you know, and we still standing strong and still resistant. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I don't think colonizers quite understand what's in the people who they are continually trying to oppress.
Right.
I think about Donald Trump the other day talking about how the U.S. should just own Palestine. We're going to own it. We're going to run it. You know, all of those things, right? Thinking about that. And we talked about this yesterday also about Donald Trump thinking that he can carve up Palestine the way these other nations have done Africa and dole it out to different places.
Yeah.
But the Palestinian people will never allow that to happen. These people just survived 15 months straight of an all-out assault on their lives. Do you think they're about to lie down for you, Donald Trump? They're not going to. And we know that this Nakba, just like the first Nakba, has seen so much even before things came to a head, right? This country saw so much. From the first Nakba to this one, there has been a continued assault on the Palestinian people. And even before October 7, 2023, the Israeli occupation forces were grabbing Palestinian children, taking them for no reason, trying to manipulate them into betraying their families and communities, beating them, torturing them, sending them home naked, right? They would grab these children and the parents would not know where they were for months, years. All of this was going on prior to October 7th. The taking of homes by settlers in Israel, giving the settlers weapons and encouraging violence against Palestinians, that was going on before October 7th, 2023. And I need people to understand that the same way that was going on before October 7th, 2023, the proxy war in Sudan has been going on longer than anything you became aware of in 2024.
Right.
There are students who are now in college who were born during this proxy war. It's still going on. The only thing that changes is the oppressor who's pulling the strings.
Yeah.
When I look at some of these so-called influencers on Meta, and they have profiles that are dedicated to things like travel. And these are Black people who publish lists that have titles like best places for Black people to live worldwide. When I see Dubai on that list, I know you out here shucking and jiving.
Of course.
I know you ain't about nothing. I know that you probably have not even been there. Because in Dubai, you can be detained by the police for taking prescription medication. And you think that's a good place for Black people.
Right.
But the United Arab Emirates are also contributing to the RSF.
That's right.
In Sudan for the oppression of the Sudanese people. So you want to go and support that economy? God bless you. When they say things like, oh, in Europe, it's all good. It's just a melting pot. You know, it's just, everybody just lives. Everybody's just free. You're lying. You are lying.
They don't know no better. Sometimes
maybe they haven't really been anywhere.
Yeah. Or real quick, because like, you know, if you go somewhere for a week, you know, you have to understand you could go anywhere, you know, and it's gonna be nice. First of all, you're getting away from work, you're going to a place, you always have some money because you're traveling, so you got some money, you're meeting new people, you know, everything is gonna be smooth. You gotta keep that in your mind. Like, people can't just go visit somewhere for a week and then come back and be like, oh yeah, this is great over there. Like, you know, you got to talk to the locals. You got to look for your people. First of all, no matter where you go, you got to look for where the African people are at if you're Black. and talk to them, see how they're doing. You know what I'm saying? See what the situation is like for our people over there. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, that's what you're saying.
I had an experience of tutoring a young lady and her mother who were from Texas, but once Roe versus Wade was overturned and there was no federal protection for abortion, and there were all of these oppressive pieces of legislation that were going through state houses in different parts of the South, this family decided that they wanted to move. And they were moving to Austria. So they came to me for German lessons so that they could speak the language before they got there. When they got there, the mother called me and asked me, what organizations do you know over here that focus on Black people? Because it's bad over here. They literally went from the frying pan into the fire. Where, yes, here in the South, we have some of the most restrictive abortion laws and abortion bans in the country. But they went from knowing what they were dealing with in Texas to a place that is foreign to them, thinking that they were going to have a better life because there's more freedom for women. There is expanded health care for people overall, but they forgot that they were Black. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in being human and just a person and forget that we're Black. Like, you always Black no matter what. No matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, where you find yourself, you Black. And things going to be different for you.
And this conversation, you know, it makes me think about, you know, one thing. A lot of people think that, you know, they want to get away, even if sometimes, you know, wherever it is, but they're like, yo, we're going to go over there, and they thinking that it's over, that the struggle is over. Like, let me tell you, this is why we have to understand that the struggle is global. There is no safe place. Even if you go back to the motherland, there is no safe place. The colonizer is everywhere, and we have to understand that. It doesn't mean we can go somewhere else to live and try to find wherever it is that try to find a place where we can have a little bit better situation in order to continue to struggle. But we have to understand that, you know, we can't just go somewhere and it's over. Oh, we're good over there. No, that's not how it works. There is no place as of today, unfortunately, we're not safe anywhere.
That's right.
The war is on, and the enemy, you know, it's a global system of oppression. We have to understand that, you know.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, I think we should go to a short break for Black Power real quick.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we'll be back.
If you can't do for yourself what the white man is doing for himself, don't say you're equal with the white man. That's right. If you can't set up a factory like he sets up a factory, don't talk that old equality talk. Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now? This is American justice. This is American democracy. And those of you who are familiar with it know that in America, democracy is hypocrisy. Now, if I'm wrong, put me in jail. But if you can't prove that a democracy is not hypocrisy, then don't put your hands on me. Democracy is hypocrisy. If democracy means freedom, why aren't our people free? If democracy means justice, why don't we have justice? If democracy means equality, why don't we have equality?
And here I am sideways once again. You know, I feel like maybe this happens because we are turning things upside down.
We're supposed to. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Speaking about turning things upside down, that was the great Malcolm X. with one, that's right on the subject. You know what I'm saying? That was right on the subject.
Absolutely. Wanting to take away our identity, wanting to take away our names. When we think about Kujichagulia and what the right to self-determination is, it is the right not only to govern ourselves, but to name ourselves. For us to build a nation that we want. And tell me why even now you can't see me. I am feeling like.
We see you.
Do you see me now?
Yeah, we see you.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Couldn't see myself for a second, so it's not important. This is good that you can see me.
Yeah,
but in line with the targeting of Native American people, and as I mentioned before, there have been some Black people who are United States citizens who have been targeted by ICE as well. We cannot neglect to recognize the history of the United States when it comes to these actions of mass deportation and terrorism, quite frankly, of anyone who's not white. You can go all the way back to the 1800s and the early 1900s. There's a good article in Truth Out that talks about what has been going on in the United States. And whether we are talking about Chinese people, whether we are talking about Japanese people, Mexican people, anyone who is not white enough, because we don't remember these same types of fights against Irish people coming to the United States. Now, Irish people did fight with others up in the North as they immigrated to the United States because they were seen as not white enough.
Yeah, they were seen as not white for a
Irish
little while.
people, Italian people, they had the names, different slurs for them. But they were able to be folded into white hegemony.
And then they caught right up. They caught right up to the rest of the white folks.
They caught up
like,
real quick.
Now we're with y'all.
Exactly.
Like, forget them other
they are the ones who become the oppressors of Black people and Jewish people, Chinese people, Japanese people, Mexican people, any Central American or South American person. They are now the ones inflicting terror. And when we look at some of the studies that have been done in the 1930s up through the 1950s, there were mass deportations of Mexican American people even then, because white supremacist groups have always been prevalent in the United States. When you look at the news these days, there are white supremacist groups in ABC town, in whatever state of the United States, that are calling for the expulsion of non-white people. You think about a letter that was circulated in Oregon in December in preparation for Agent Orange to take office again, calling on white people to identify and report anyone who they suspected of being undocumented. Now, what gives you the idea that someone is undocumented? What even qualifies you to make that determination? But you get to go off of a whim, and you're being a part of the Brown Roundup.
Right.
All of this in preparation for President Trump and the Great Border Wall. You have reports of Border Patrol agents in Bakersfield, California, who were rounding up people and carrying out mass deportations even before the inauguration of Agent Orange this time around. Takes me back to the first presidency of Donald Trump, when ICE agents were walking around the streets of New Jersey, when people were afraid to come out of their homes, when the town where I was living declared itself a sanctuary city, and people told us that we were crazy because we weren't going to get money from the federal government if you protect those migrants. And we were just like, whatever, we don't need no money from the federal government because, like, what do we really get over here anyway? In our little town, we were not getting a lot. But it was more important for us to make sure that we could protect our friends and neighbors than getting anything from the federal government. But this type of fear mongering is so deeply rooted in what the white supremacist power structure is and the intention of white supremacy. It is to make you not only feel like you're inferior, but to truly be afraid of being anything other than white. And we can take it farther to say white and Christian.
Yeah.
Because that is what's called for here in the United States. You know, we gotta profess to be one nation under God. You got states that are putting in legislation requiring the reading of the 10 Commandments, because you can only read from the Bible. You can't read from any African text, anything that is too black. We can't do that. Everything is rooted in racism.
Everything.
But what we can see plainly is that from their earliest appearances, any type of immigration, deportation mandates have all stemmed purely from racism. Whether this is against Chinese people and other Asians, whether this is against Mexican people and then Central and South Americans, whether this is against the people of Haiti or other people who come from even the U.S. Virgin Islands, because the Virgin Islands are U.S. territories, but people from the islands are now being targeted in these mass deportation roundups. What I would say to people is that, yes, pay attention to the news, but don't let it consume you.
Yes.
Because it's the constant fear mongering. That is the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we think about the Proud Boys and all of these white supremacist organizations that have been given the green light to carry out these vigilante responses, this is nothing that we have not seen before. This is what has been done throughout history in the United States. It's always been some crazy white mob doing the dirty work of the actual administration. And that is what is bananas to me, because there's all this talk about gang activity when, number one, cops are the biggest gang in this country. Two, the presidential administration that allows for this all of these white supremacist groups, they are the second gang. Like literally Trump and the Silicon Valley boys, they are a gang in and of themselves.
Yes.
And then their proteges are the other arm of the gang. So you got a three-pronged gang going on that are seeking to cause mass chaos, confusion, and keep people in a constant state of fear. And the best thing that we can do is, one, stay informed. Two, make sure that we know our rights. But three, if you are not in community, build community, get into community, and know that we keep each other safe. And we can, in fact, do it, because there is no way, number one, that they can arrest all of us. They just can't. They can't do it. But two, we know that half of the stuff that Agent Orange is doing is not even legal. So it won't hold up in a court of law if you have to make it that far. But we have to make sure that in community, we come together and understand what community is about, so that we will no longer have to operate on fear, but we can begin to operate from a place of wisdom, knowing what it is that we've built in community, how we've learned to defend ourselves, how we've begun to make sure that our community members know their rights, further defending us from illegal deportation and illegal action from these people, but also making sure that people understand that it is their right to resist. You do not have to take any of this stuff lying down, because that's not what you were made for.
That's right. That's right. Appreciate that, Kiana. Really, community. That's the key. That's the key. You know, like you said, we need to operate, from a place of love. You know, love for ourselves, love for our family, love for our community. You know,
absolutely.
So build community, like you say. You know, be a part of our organization. You know, and the struggle continues.
Absolutely, it does.
All right. To everybody checking us out, we appreciate you. Make sure you stay on top of things. Check out what's going on right here on Black Power Media Reloaded. We got a bunch of shows, as always, every week. New content dropping. Make sure you check us out tomorrow morning. We'll be right back.
Yes, we will be here
with the rest of the comrades.
Yes.
Appreciate
Uhuru,
y'all.
fam. Rise
Uhuru.
up.
Thank you, Kiana. Rise up.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, or the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and that babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. What we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. Like chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.